Phoenixx Love, licensed clinical social worker, is a holistic therapist, wellness consultant, author, and, in my opinion, a breath of fresh air. On this episode of LifeClub, we discussed one of my favorite topics, relationships. Relationships have always been important to me, whether romantic or when it comes to family, work, school, and pretty much life overall. Relationship is truly the common thread that unites and keeps us all together. Phoenixx says that relationship is interdependent, and by doing our personal soul work, we unlock self-actualization, because in order to fully function in a relationship, we must first be whole as individuals. Phoenixx is the proprietor of Healer's Haven, has over 20 years of experience in studying and researching human behavior, psychology, and the healing arts. She has used evidence-based practices and effective therapeutic interventions to help countless individuals heal and achieve optimal wellness. I feel healing just reading this information. Through her foundational profession as a licensed mental health clinician. Thank you. Phoenixx Love has assisted families, at-risk adolescents, corporate employees, trauma victims, and individuals with chronic mental illness and substance abuse disorders move towards healing, restoration, and recovery. Phoenixx Love is an intuitive wellness advocate and a revolutionary change agent dedicated to healing souls and transforming lives around the world. Just by reading that, you have changed me. Welcome, Miss Phoenixx Love. In your own words, who are you?
Thank you so much, Tashima, for having me. I feel so blessed to be here and in this positive space and energy. So who is Phoenixx Love? Phoenixx Love is, you read my bio, but I think the essence of who I am is someone that is about spreading love, joy, peace, and healing through the work that I do with individuals, with leaders, with families, and just the opportunity to be able to touch lives and transform lives through all of my platforms, whether it's through my writing or it's through the healing works that I do as a mental health professional and also as a holistic health and wellness practitioner. So Phoenixx Love is someone that wants to make sure that I spread the awareness of mental health advocacy and really from a holistic health perspective all over the world through whatever way that I can.
Definitely. And to further dig in to Miss Phoenixx Love, we have the same segment, same 7. It's a rapid fire round of 7 questions that we ask all of our amazing guests. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So first, what is your favorite song?
My favorite song is Love is the Message by MFSB.
Love is the Message.
Which is, circa day 1973.
All right. I need to go YouTube that. I will be YouTubing that.
Listen, it's a dance track. I'm an old house head, so it's one of my favorites. It's probably one of the longest songs out there as well. So
wow.
You can get your dance on.
And a workout in at the same time, it sounds like. What's your favorite color?
Purple. The color of royalty, of course, the color of the crown chakra, the color of just becoming and
Good
being
stuff.
and divinity.
Yes. Your favorite food?
Favorite food? That was a tough one. So I am sort of a vegetarian. I'm like a flexitarian. So
I like that.
I'm going to use that from now on.
I'm subscribing to that.
When I flex, I need some shrimp or something.
I'm mostly a vegetarian.
I like
However, eggplant parmesan without the cheese.
Okay.
Is my favorite.
Sounds good. How do you stay healthy?
Well, pretty much because everything I do is from a holistic perspective. So that's healthy to me is mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. So I try to eat clean, like I just mentioned. I move my body, whether it's through yoga, whether it's through Zumba. Not really a gym person, but, I do my stretching and walking. Prayer and meditation is
Yes.
at the top of the list. And fasting, which ironically enough, right now, my online community, we're doing a group fast and detox, a 7-day
Nice.
fast and detox. So, and really the other part of it is keeping myself protected or away from toxic people, places, and things. And that again is right there, probably right underneath prayer and meditation. They all kind of work together in synchronization to make sure that I'm healthy.
Awesome. Awesome. What advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh wow. Okay, it's probably about 3 or 4 things. Everything that I need is within me, because that's something it took many decades for me to understand and realize. Don't look outside of don't look outside of myself for happiness, validation, or acceptance. It's within me, and it's with God. And that's going to really bring you sorrow and disappointment. So I learned that over time. And the second thing is people come and go according to the seasons in your life and where you are and what where you are on your journey and your path. Everyone is not meant to stay, and it's okay, because that used to grieve my spirit when I was younger and I didn't know any better. The third thing is to be patient. All is in divine timing. And the last thing is even the bad stuff that happens to you, no matter how traumatizing or hurtful it may be, is still good because it's part of the learning process, it's part of the journey. And you learn the lesson and you move on. Some of us, it takes time, but that's where the healing comes in. It's part of your growth and development as a spirit, energetic being living out this human experience.
You know what? I feel like we just getting started. And it's like, it's just so, okay. Yes, I'm just like, okay.
Getting all zen already, right?
Yes, you are setting the mood. If you could go anywhere in the world, in space and time, where would it be and why?
I don't think for me, it's not, and I love that you said in space and time, because for me, it's not necessarily a destination, because I travel, and there's places I haven't been and I want to go to. But for me, it's about, to me, tracing back to my ancestors and being able to sit among my ancestors. And I'm talking about way back to that lineage, ancient Africa, Kemetic, and really sitting down with the shamans and the original healers, and those from my bloodline that I didn't get to touch, but I only could touch in spirit, and learn from them and really understand all of the things that we need to know as melanated people, how to heal ourselves, how to be able to self-actualize, how to be able to overcome. Because way back then they didn't have all this technology and all of this stuff that is shoved down our throat from a certain point of view. And so I would love to be able to go back in time and be able to sit in that circle and hear the stories, the storytelling that that generations before us used to do, that we've kind of lost that. And I think the only place you kind of get that is in poetry, which I'm a poet as well, and in, of course, hip hop and some musicians and stuff.
Awesome. And last but not least, what is your definition of life?
For me, life is, I'm really like metaphoric. This is where the writer in me comes in, metaphoric analogy. So life to me is like a pot of soup. You throw all those ingredients. When it's a really good soup, you throw all of the good ingredients in there. You let it simmer at the right temperature for the right amount of time. And I don't know about anybody else, but I cook by taste. I don't cook by recipes necessarily. I use them every now and then. That's how I was taught. But when that soup is good, it's soothing to the soul, it's soothing to the mind. It can bless you, it can heal you. But we also know the opposite of that is true. When you throw a soup together and maybe you're just not in the right headspace and you put all the wrong ingredients in, it's just hot water with a bunch of stuff in it. And it tastes nasty. You can't serve it to anybody. You don't even want to eat it. So when you have that good soup, you can be a blessing to others. You can heal the whole household. You can take it over to a neighbor. You can bless other people. So I think life is like that. I think we are here on this earth for a reason. And we all have our own little pot of soup, and we're all kind of like a pot of soup with all of the, either we have the right ingredients going in, which makes us good and wholesome and comforting and loving, and we can be a blessing to people, or be that pot of just hot water boiling over with a bunch of junk in it that we're spewing everywhere we go.
That's good.
Yes. I'm like, I want to be the good soup. Look.
That is so good. It's so simple, yet so profound.
Right.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. You know what? The same 7? Like, that's his own situation. Thank you so much for sharing those parts of yourself. Truly, truly appreciate it. We're going to jump right in to our topic of today, which is relationships. Anything that I speak about on Life Club is something that I need understanding in, or healing in, or maturity in. And relationships for me have been very strange, I think, when it comes to expectations, when it comes to understanding what a relationship is, when it comes to how to build and cultivate a relationship, especially for a person who may have, I've grown up in like a dysfunctional space. And you hear that a lot. Everybody's family is dysfunctional. But how do you deal with that dysfunction? And how do you create a pure perspective of a relationship when you may not have had that, growing up? So first, what is the whole point and purpose of relationship itself?
Well, I believe that we are all created to be interdependent. Of course, we all got here by a relationship, right? Mom, dad got together, 2 people got together, fell in love, or not.
This is true.
Because we know sometimes, or not, and you're just that, that
product
of that fun time. So, but there's still a relationship, no matter what level that relationship is. And so that interdependence is necessary, and relationship is really all about the giving and the receiving, that reciprocity, that trust, that building, that and it's not always commonality, because sometimes you hear that cliche of opposites attract. However, we are all energy beings, right? So sometimes we are just drawn to certain kinds of people, and people are drawn to us. And a lot of times we hear people say, oh, it was a chemistry there. And that's real,
right.
Because remember, we are made up of all of these neurons and atoms and all these different things floating through our bodies that connect us to each other. And then we have something called pheromones, hormones that give off, just like, we're animals, but at the higher level of the food chain, of course. So we have that. So when we talk about relationship and being relational with other beings like us, that is something that we were actually created to do. That we're created to commune with each other. Independence was something that was pushed for a long time, for a decade, but we are now in a place where we have to be more independent. We have to be more communal. And that, whether that's love relationships, that's relationships with our families, that's relationships in our workspace. It's all important, and it all has a role and a place in our journey to self-actualization and to achieving our purpose. We can't do it by ourselves.
Definitely. You said so much, like the whole chemistry situation. I've heard that plenty of times. It's like, the chemistry is a little off. And it's like, the more I study, the more I read, the more I realize that it is a real thing. My question is, how do you, find the right chemistry? Or is that chemistry, can you create that? Is it natural? Shed some light
And I'm gonna say,
on the chemistry, please.
Yeah, I'm going to say a resounding no. You cannot create chemistry. Chemistry is something, like I said, is energy. And there are going to be certain people that you just have an innate connection with. It's a spirit thing. It's a soul thing. It's an energetic thing. That is not something you can make or create. So that's why I always find it interesting when people are in relationships and there's really no love or no chemistry or no fire or anything. And then they're like, okay, we'll stay and we'll work on it. We'll make it happen.
So it's safe to kind of go with that and not force it. So if it's there,
let it flow.
Let it be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And don't get me wrong, you have to cultivate relationships, because people, I've been married for over 15 years now.
Beautiful.
To my husband. We've been together about 20. So relationships, especially long-term marriages, it goes ups and downs. You go through all different types of things, and we're no stranger to that. We went through a lot in our marriage. And you really do. You love the person, they have your heart and all those different things, but things change over time.
So chemistry doesn't make it perfect.
Not at all. And listen, please show me a perfect marriage. I don't, perfect marriages, that sounds like something that's like a fairy tale. Can you have a really good, strong, solid marriage? But if you talk to any couples that say they're good and they're in a good place, is that it was work. And they had went through some things where they learn, because remember, you're both coming with whoever you are, all of your stuff, all of your baggage, all your upbringing, your nuances, and you're two people coming together and becoming one. So with that alone, there's going to be some friction. There's going to be some challenges, because that's just human nature.
So how do you deal with that baggage, not only from just childhood and you just being an individual, but from other relationships, prior relationships to maybe the current one that you're in? Because oftentimes I think that's something that tends to hold people back. It's not necessarily their current situation. It's just not dealing with the situations prior to. How does one overcome that? Is it safe to start something new when you're not over something old?
Absolutely not. So, and again, I'm a healer, I'm a therapist. This is the work that I do. It's very difficult for you to have a healthy relationship with anybody if you don't have one with yourself. So if you're coming into the relationship and you're broken and you have, a lot of trauma, or you just maybe even coming from your past relationship and it was just a horrific situation, and you have not healed from that, you're going to carry all of that into your next relationship. You're going to carry all those emotions. You're going to carry the distrust. You're going to carry the trauma. Whatever you went through, you're going to bring that into the next relationship, and you're going to start projecting it onto that person. Or you will become the victim again. And this is what happens a lot of times. We repeat a cycle. We end up sometimes getting in a relationship with the same type of person over and over again. They're just in a different suit. Because we're drawing, again, energy. We're drawing that person to us because we haven't healed what was broken inside, or what we needed to take care of inside. We haven't done what I call your soul work yet. So I talk about a lot of this in my book, If I Should Die Before I Wake, Your Journey to Awakening Your Calling. I have a whole section on relationships, because we know most of our stress, most of depression, anxiety, anything that we're dealing with emotionally, a lot of times it comes from our relationships, whether it's with family or if it's with romantic relationships. And I even have a section in there about vetting work relationships, because that's becoming a big issue right now, where there's a lot of workplace bullying and intimidation, harassment, and violence. So it's all part of it.
So how, you mentioned, the soul work and healing personally. Personal development is like super important to me. And I think sometimes we look to other people to develop personally when we should probably do that work beforehand. Or, like you said, looking within yourself. How does somebody get to that space where they can really cultivate a healthy relationship with themselves? Because so often we're looking outside of ourselves for our wholeness.
All the time. I can just, be a little transparent and just share, because I share my stories in my books that I've written. I'm in 2 anthologies besides my own book. And I share my story and my journey because I know it would be a blessing to someone. That was me. I was looking outside of myself. I was going here, going to this friend, looking, for mentors and aunties. And all those things are good to have as support. But the reality is that the divine creates us with the power to heal ourselves. Creates us to be able to tap within that power source. We have something called Sakim, life force energy within us that flows through each and one of us. And I'm not saying we don't need guidance and we don't need assistance. That's where people like myself come in, a therapist or a mentor or a holistic health practitioner like myself, to help guide and to help give you some tools and resources that you may not have. But the first thing you have to do is say yes. You have to acknowledge that there's an issue in the first place. So until you're ready to accept that there is something that's holding you back, that you have some kind of emotional blockage, you have maybe you're suffering from depression or anxiety, or all of your relationships are just failing, or there's just something not right, you have to say, okay, wait a minute, let me step back and see what's going on here. and reach out for help. And that's usually comes in the form of professional help.
Definitely. I'm holding back tears right now because I'm just grateful to be in this space where I can actually have this conversation. Because I too was that person looking for my identity and everything and everyone else, whether it was work or school, family, friends, society, etc. And it wasn't until I did everything I thought I was supposed to do, and I wasn't happy, it was kind of like, okay, I need to step back. I need to assess. I need to really look on the inside of me to figure out what's going on, because everything that society, family, and friends said equated success and happiness, I've obtained that in some way or another. But to have those things and to be in those spaces but still not be happy is definitely a moment where you have to question yourself and you have to confront yourself. What was that moment like for you when you realized it's something in me, or it's a journey that I have to take personally versus just trying to find it everywhere else?
For me, I think I just got tired of hitting that brick wall. I got tired of the hurt, the pain, the rejection. Okay, because that's what happens when you keep looking outside of yourself and looking to others. You end up getting rejected because you haven't fixed what's in there. It's an unmet need. And my unmet needs, like a lot of people, was being filled by either food or wine or people, or some people do sex and drugs and all these other things to fulfill those unmet needs. So when you have a lot of unmet needs that is based in some time of your childhood experiences, you're not able to self-actualize. And that's what was happening. I wasn't able to really jump out there and fulfill my purpose because I hadn't healed those broken parts or those unmet needs. And so for me, it came in the form of being depressed, of being on medication, on being not well, unhealthy, overweight, all those different things, and just really in a sunken place is what I call it. And once I got to that place, I knew I had to do something different because I didn't want to be there. I had no joy. I was going to church. I was serving in the church. I was sitting in the pews. I was, picking up every self-help book possible that I could think of, watching Iyanla, Oprah, everybody crying everywhere, the usual. Yes. And I said, what is wrong? What is wrong? What is wrong? And it came to the point where I kind of hit a wall, like I said, and I didn't like who I had become. And I was tired of feeling that pain and that hurt. So, I just cried out, and I knew I had to do something different. I knew the traditional things wasn't working. So that's really where I started my path of holistic healing and doing energy work and going to get healed myself. And so I kind of went on this quest to find my own purpose and to find I want to say the magic spot of healing for me. And that was it for me. And I was able to do that through going to Iyanla Vanzant's Wonder Woman weekend. That was one. And then Queen Afua, I'm in Brooklyn, the holistic health practitioner, 40-year veteran. I went through her Sacred Women program. And that was another aha for me and started me on my healing journey.
And then goes that interdependence. And the guidance where it's like, okay, I know this. Now let me seek what I already know. Let me just get clarity on it through other people. And I think that's something that we forget. Like, we are
confirmation.
Yes. And we are all connected. And I think that's the reality of it, especially when you want to cultivate healthy relationships. You have to see that other person as yourself to a certain extent. And oftentimes what I realize is that person that you're in close relationship with is a mirror to you. For example, I had a very unhealthy relationship, and there was this point when I would read certain text messages and I would hear certain things that were being said, and I was like, hold on. You say this to yourself. You just don't verbalize it. You just don't say it out loud. The negative self-talk. So when I realized that, it was like, hold on. And when I heard it from someone else, I stood up for myself. But again, within ourselves, we allow the negative self-talk to just carry on because we can, mask it. We're not saying it out loud. So again, just going back within yourself and figuring out, well, what am I doing to manifest these things? Because you're always manifesting something. So
And we cover it up.
Yes,
we
and
wear masks.
Yes.
We wear masks. We show up with our makeup, hair done, nails done, dressed
Everything's
wonderful,
dead.
but everything is dead and dying on the inside. And that's the problem, especially with us as women. You know, we go out and we show up because that's what we've been conditioned to do, right? And men as well. You know, we have to wear this strong face and be able to show up for our family, show up for our children, show up for everybody, show up for our employers, but we're not showing up for ourselves.
Definitely.
So that's where the issues come in, because we're just masking it, we're putting it and burning it down in Pandora's box, but it eventually shows up everywhere because it starts to bubble over till you can't contain it anymore. So that's where a lot of people are right now, like people that are calling me and seeking services. They're like, I don't know why, I don't know what's going on with me. And I'm like, well, we're in a dispensation in the universe where it is time for you to do your healing. You can't mask it anymore. You can't put it in a box. You can't tuck it under the table, under the bed, wherever you've been hiding it. You have to deal with it. We're being called to deal with whatever our issues are.
That's good. If you're just tuning in, thanks so much for listening to Life Club with Sashima Jones. We are sitting with the lovely, the Zen, Miss Phoenixx Love, and we're talking about relationships. One of the things that you said was self-actualization. What is that? And how do we get the best out of it? Because I hear the term a lot, but what is that? What does that mean? And how do we use it for our good?
Okay. So, because I'm a clinician, one of my favorite theorists is Abraham Maslow, and he has this hierarchy of needs, and it's basically shaped in a pyramid, and at the base of it is, you know, our normal basic survival, food, safety, the things that we need, and then it goes up around sense of belonging, then it goes up another realm as far as our relationships, and then at the very top of the pyramid is self-actualization, because it means it's correlated between child development, like a personal child development. And you go through those different stages from when you're a baby all the way up to when you're supposed to be an adult. You'll be self-actualized. But we know that that's not how, you know, human beings work. We know things happen in life, and sometimes there's a breach in that development. So what happens with a lot of us, and there's something called adverse childhood experiences, which is a study that was done where people, they basically did a study on adults to see, you know, how many different traumatic events they have and how it has impacted their life as adults. If you have like 5 or more, then, you know, it shows up in your relationships and everything like that. So the same thing with self-actualization just means that you have been able to get to the point where you are living at your optimal wellness, and that's mind, body, soul, spirit. You have self-actualized, you're flourishing in your career or your work or your business. You have healthy relationships. You feel good about yourself. You're healthy good. You've self-actualized. But we know, again, anytime there's some kind of situation that happened in that developmental process, that we don't always self-actualize at the same age, right? Some people self-actualize at 18, some people 25, some people 45, some people 75. It varies depending on what your life experiences have been. So one thing that I do as a holistic health practitioner, I look at that pyramid in correlation to the 7 chakras. So the 7 chakras, ironically enough, when you look at both of those pyramids, they have the same colors. They each represented by the same colors and the same emotional and psychological and physiological impacts. So with the chakras, the root chakra is at the base, and that's where our safety is affected. That's where our survival, you know, and how we feel we have to survive. And if there's any imbalance there, where there's say we've been someone that has been traumatized sexually, okay, a lot of times they have root chakra issues, okay, because there's been a breach in that very basic lower need. So, and then there's the sacral chakra, and we can go on up to the top, which is the crown chakra, which it correlates with self-actualization, because that is your connection to divinity, and that's when you are at your highest level of consciousness.
Wow.
So that's the self-actualization clinical meaning as well as the holistic health meaning.
I have a question for you. So in this process, as you gain awareness of everything that's going on around you and you figure out that some of the toxic people may actually be people you have really close relationships with, what is your advice on cutting those cords in a good way? Not so you can go back, because sometimes you don't need to go back and retouch it, but what's a safe way to do it so that you don't, maybe I don't want to say offend people, because sometimes people don't know that they're toxic to you, and you don't want to like cut them off in a sense like, you know, just straight razor blade. But what's the best advice for doing it in a healthy way for both parties?
And I think what you said is very important, in a healthy way, and that if it's a close relationship, sometimes it just boils down to having a conversation with that person and letting them know that you are in a space right now where you are practicing full self-love for yourself, full healing for yourself. You have to do your work, and you need everybody that genuinely loves and cares about you to support you in that by giving you the space to be able to do that work.
Right.
So it's not a situation where you have to say, well, look, I don't want to be bothered with you anymore. I don't want you.
Kick rocks.
Yeah, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. However, I love you. I know that you care about me. But right now, this is a relationship that doesn't seem to be healthy for me in the space that I'm in.
Right.
So you can, somewhat put it back to you, and you need this time to heal.
Right. Making it about yourself.
Make it about yourself and not about them. And you're making yourself a priority. But guess what? I am going to say this. Whenever you make a decision to do your healing work, your soul work, and your relationships are going to probably, most of them that aren't healthy, they're going to kind of go to the wayside anyway. They sometimes remove themselves because you start to change. You start to self-actualize and come into your own. So then your energy is different. So, and I like to use this all the time with my online community, and when I do presentations, I always talk about vibrate higher.
Right.
You're going to a higher level of consciousness. So sometimes they just remove themselves, or
Everybody
the relationship just kind of go.
Yeah.
They can't go with you. That door is very narrow. And it's meant for you to go through, and what the divine has for you is for you. So sometimes they can't go with you. Some will. Some will be there. They'll be supportive. They've been in your corner. But you'll see your circle start to shrink.
But don't panic, right?
But don't panic. Embrace it, because that just means that you're going to your next season and they're not a part of it.
I love it.
Again, like, I literally experienced that. It's and I panicked at first, because I'm like, no, I'm trying to get better for us.
We all do. I did.
And I feel like what we don't realize is that everything that belongs to the self-actualized you will remain as long as you stay focused on that goal, and everything that doesn't belong to you will fall away. And sometimes we try to hold on to things that aren't supposed to be with us or go with us. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I appreciate this so much. We are speaking with Phoenixx Love about relationships. It's about that time. We have to wrap up, but I definitely want you to just leave our listeners with some tips and tools on how to maintain healthy relationships, or whatever it is that you feel that needs to be shared.
Okay. So I think the main tip, and we mentioned it earlier, but I'm going to reiterate it, is that before you can really have a healthy relationship with someone, you have to practice your own self-love. And self-love is not the same as self-care. Self-care is a part of self-love, but really making yourself a priority. Because, again, the path that is created for you, your divine purpose and calling on this earth is meant for you. So you have to do that deep soul work, especially if you've been through some things that have been traumatic, or you've had, bad relationships in the past. You want to do your healing before really trying to start a new relationship. And if you're in a relationship, make sure you're both doing your work independently. Doing your own healing, your own soul work. And, again, it's nothing wrong with picking up the phone or reaching out for a professional to help you. And some people, I know there's coaches out there. If you like the sound of a coach better, then I'm a mental health coach today.
Heard you.
Okay, because again, I just want people, I am a holistic health practitioner and coach, but I am a mental health therapist because we all bring something to the plate, but I want people to understand that there's nothing wrong with therapy. Therapy and prayer can coexist, so do both if you need to.
That's good. And I'm happy that you said something about if you're in a relationship, because I think sometimes you feel like, well, maybe I should just give this up and work on myself. And there's hope that the two people involved in one relationship can work both independently on themselves,
right,
as well as interdependently within the relationship.
Right. So they can have their individual therapy as well as couples counseling simultaneously. Right. But do your own work though, because you need to be whole. I think we think two halves make a whole because we think about math. But when it comes down to relationships and human beings, two wholes make a better whole.
Good stuff. So let us know any projects you have coming up and how we can all stay connected to you.
So the best way to reach me is, and to know what I have going on, is to go to my website, which is www.ahealershaven.com. That's AHEALERSHAVEN.com. You can also reach out to me via email, which is Phoenixx Love. That's Phoenix with 2 X's, PhoenixxLove at ahealershaven.com. I currently have a couple of different webinars coming up. I have a webinar that is specifically for people that are considered highly sensitive people or empaths. A lot of people are hearing more and more about being empathic and having certain gifts and being able to absorb people's energy, but they don't know how to protect themselves. As an intuitive empath, I've been studying myself for a long time and really helping a lot of empaths to be able to navigate the world without being consumed with their abilities and this gift, because it is a gift. Some people look at it as a curse. So if you're interested in that, again, you can, contact me via email and I can give you some more information about that. And I also have a writing clinic coming up on December 29th. And you can also email me again at phoenixlove@ahealershaven.com to be able to get more information on any of those webinars or if you want individual services.
Thank you. Phoenixx Love. I'm genuinely grateful for you being here, for you showing up, for you sharing, and simply for being you and doing your soul's work so that you can, help all of us who definitely need it. You are so necessary, and I so appreciate you on our break. I'm like, girl, I'm about to cry. And I was told I could go in the bathroom, so that's where I'm headed to when we wrap.
Yes.
All right. Well, until next time, remember to own your greatness. I am Tashima Jones, and you've been listening to LifeClub. Thank you for tuning in.